Yo, Vaughn, what is going on, brother? Welcome to the podcast. I am super stoked that you're here with me today.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm so happy to be here. This is exciting.
I know. I haven't seen you in probably 2 months now since the last time we were out in Arizona. So it's good to link up again and just kind of see what you're doing. And yeah, man, just a good time to catch up. So
Mm.
excited.
Yeah, it is exciting.
So I know who you are. I know what you're doing, but for anyone who might be checking you out, if you wouldn't mind, man, just going over kind of a little background of who you are, what you do to help shape the world, and then we'll just dive in from there.
Yeah, I'll go over it. We'll keep it brief. So, I am 20 years old, college dropout. I am the founder of Burlington Pressure Washing, and I now coach mindset and how to start exterior cleaning businesses. And that's pretty much all of it right now. So, proud son, proud brother, big family guy, and that's what it's about. So, that's me.
Awesome, man. I love it. Super simple, just keeping it on the level. And I feel so much of a kinship with you. Again, I know you so much, know so much about your story. And I remember, I left college when I was 20 years old, trying to figure things out. And it's just inspiring to see kind of you in the same position and stepping into entrepreneurship and being a business owner. So I kind of want to jump straight into that and get to the
Yeah.
meat of the story of what was your life like that week before you decided to leave, before you decided to drop out and make that leap into being a business owner?
I started the business while I was in college. I started in November of 2024, and so I was doing it through college, and I dropped out in the summer. So I'd already been doing very well, but the week before I dropped out, I was actually at the event in Scottsdale, and it actually was something I've been thinking about for a while. And I talked to Jacqueline, the CEO of the Elliott Group, and I went up to her, and my question was framed as, I want you to talk to me as if you were my mom because my family won't necessarily say this to me unfiltered, but I have really I have crazy ambitions, and I need some type of basically, I wanna drop out of college, but I don't want it to feel like I'm quitting, because my ambitions are farther than college, and if I waste another 2 years in this, I feel like I could be so much farther along, and I don't know how to go about it because my dreams require me to have an amount of money to take care of my family and just have a better mindset lifestyle, so I just don't know what path to go, and she looked at me, and she didn't really say much. She just looked at me and she's like, "You just can't have a plan B. If you're gonna do it, you can't have a plan B." And we talked a little bit more, but it really just circled that, and that was the moment where I was like, where I felt like I was going in already, and I was like, "I gotta double down. Like, I can't mess this up." And so that was the moment where I was like, I'm officially gonna drop out now. It's just a matter of time of telling my family. And they took it very well because I'd already been making the money. My extended family, not as much, but quickly after everyone started to understand, once I started posting a little bit more. But that was the moment where I was like, I'm officially going to drop out.
Awesome. And for anyone who's not familiar with the Elliott Group, Andy Elliott, number one sales trainer, number one sales training organization in the world, and their headquarters is over in Fountain Hills, Arizona, right outside Scottsdale. And they put on all these events, master closer seminar, sales training, leadership training, conferences, and masterminds. Amazing experience, amazing team to be around. So I'm excited that you got to sit there and talk to Jackie about it. She herself has a very interesting, I'd say complex persona. Like she's very,
Does. Yep.
very intense, very edgy, but she also has that like, oh, I want to hold the baby right now. And like,
Hmm.
like there is a nurturing aspect to it. So I'm glad you're able to get some one-on-one, get some clarity because you never know when that catalyst for change is when it's going to come and where it's going to come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to have someone that's a multimillionaire running a multi-million dollar company
Hmm.
that has scaled so dramatically in under 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that is the universe, that is divinity just handing you, like, an opportunity to sit there and say, "Hey, ask these questions, like, let me show you the way, let me also not bullshit you and tell you the truth."
Yeah.
And I think it was really amazing to see that you took that to heart, understanding, okay, cool. I got to burn the boats. I'm not going to have like a plan B. Like, I'm going to go all in on this. So tell me kind of what was that ramp up before that conversation? How was the business doing? Were the struggles, the successes, maybe the pitfalls that were coming along the way? And then, of course, the moment that was, I think I want to do this, but I need some additional insight from the coaches.
Yeah, so most of it happened at the event. The idea of dropping out to me was something I hadn't really put too much thought in. I couldn't tell if it was like an actual thought or if it was just me being a college kid who was almost failing out, being like, I want to get out of here. Like, I couldn't tell if it was just me being like, I want to quit versus me being like, this is the next step. I have to do this. And that's why I asked Jacqueline because I wanted that outside approach, that outside idea. I could have easily talked to my mom and my dad when I got home, but I was at the event. I thought it would be worth it. And it's good to get a different opinion, especially from someone like you were saying, as successful as she is. And it's what I needed to hear. And as soon as that, I will remember that moment for the rest of my life. And as soon as it was done, I went all in because I was already thinking like the next time I come out here and see her, which will be Sales Con November, I want to have this to hit six figures. I want to come back and be like, I hit six figures. Thank you so much. Just almost as like a just I'm so proud of myself. Not expecting her to be proud of me, but like I did go all in. There was no plan B. I will never go back to college. Never to any type of education system like that. I pay for a lot of my own learning now, and there's no part of me, if the company died right now, I would not go back. I know how to rebuild. I know what I'm doing. That won't happen. In terms of the moment that changed it all, yeah, that would probably be it. That would be the moment where I was like, this is officially gonna happen, and I'm gonna start being like an adult now, which is crazy to think about. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny, man, because I remember when I was 18, I just graduated college and I was going to Appalachian State University. And that was such a interesting year from going
Hmm.
from a senior to graduating and stepping into college because I was very adamant to my parents saying, hey, I think I want to take a gap year for
Mhm.
before I go into college because I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to be aimlessly taking classes and trying to figure college out and what I want to do in life. And typical parents, just
Yep.
operating from a position of, your well-being and wanting to keep you on track in life. No, you got to go now. You got to go now. You got the grades now. Already gotten accepted. You got to go now. The money's here now.
Mhm.
Yada, yada, yada. Go for it. And after a year and a half, I just wasn't feeling it. I had to step away. I started doing just random things that were interesting to me. I was doing EMS, I was working as
Mhm.
EMT, I was going through the police academy. I was trying to find something that allowed me to provide service to the community. I felt that if I'm going to be aimlessly wandering through life, it might as well be in servitude of other people before I finally got to the position of saying, I think I'm ready to go back to college. I think I'm ready to take it a little bit more seriously now
Yep.
and actually have an idea of what I want to be focusing on.
Mhm.
So, no knock on your parents whatsoever. No knock on anyone's parents that want their children to have an amazing life, maybe something better than what they had, and to have that nurturing guidance there. And it's funny because I look at college now is I know it's a hot take. I think college is a scam. I think
Yep.
that what you get in or get out for what you put in and what the job market requires isn't a fair trade off. A lot of jobs that Heck, every job that I've had since graduating college, I've never even needed a college degree for. I've always just done sales at this point.
Yep.
And there's so many jobs that don't require a college degree. There's so many jobs that require 5+ years of experience, and if you're trying to get your first job, it doesn't matter. But most importantly, every job that you take, the very first thing that you have to do is go through their specific training for their organization. So I
Yep.
think the whole idea of college itself is unnecessary. You should just focus on getting an apprenticeship, unless you're doing something that, like science, engineering, being a doctor. Okay, cool. You need a little bit of extra education for that.
Mhm.
For being a business owner itself, there's an old saying that goes, a college education will hang on, I gotta make sure that I say it right.
Yeah.
An education will get you a salary, but self-education will get you a fortune.
Mhm.
And that's the difference
Love that.
between that's the biggest difference between knowledge and learning.
Mhm.
Knowledge is great to have, it's potential power because you have to have the application of that knowledge before you start seeing success, but the learning is the experience itself. That's what's actually gonna allow you to grow and move in life and start to actually see some results that you can be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. The other thing with college that and why I think it's a scam, and there's a couple reasons, is one, yeah, there's the high costs. It's been going up dramatically. I think the average across the country is like 38,000 per year. And but you also got to think about the sacrifice of what you're doing. You are giving up 4 years out of high school to go do this instead of work. If you job hop and do other stuff, you can make a lot of money. Now, like you said, STEM field, yes, there are some jobs that do need it, but when you come back to what is college, people don't actually realize what college is. Do people know who made the education system? Because it was John D. Rockefeller, and who his idea of the whole system was to make employees. And so when you get these kids who are smart and they're like, why don't they teach me how to start a business? Why don't they teach me how to do taxes? The system was never supposed to do that. The system is specifically made for making employees. And I think people just don't know the background of where they're going. And so when you have these kids who want to do more, you're signing up to be an employee. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's what you're signing up to learn. And I think people need to take a step back and understand what they're really getting themselves into, because college isn't for everyone. There is a form of education in different routes. You can find people to work with, but to go into college, especially blindly because you don't have another path, is insanely stupid to me.
Yeah, especially if you're going to a higher yeah, especially if you're going to a university versus a community college, especially for those
Agreed.
first years
Yep.
where you have to get core classes out of the way. I mean, you're paying for classes that you're never gonna use. Like, I remember there were
Yep.
several classes, like, stupid to say now, but accounting, I didn't pay any attention. I have 0 interest in, like, spreadsheets and accounting whatsoever.
Mhm.
The hardest thing about that class was showing up every single so
Yeah. I feel you there. Yep.
but, it's funny because money the way you wanna look at it with abundance is money's gonna come in, money's gonna go out. It's just, are you willing to put it in places that you think are gonna benefit you? Like, my
Mhm.
sister and I go back and forth so much because my sister's very traditional,
Mhm.
graduated magna cum laude, has worked in insurance with the same company for 15 years now, is very successful,
Yeah.
very high six-figure earner. So the traditional route has worked for her, but she's always been that kind of jackhammer person,
Yep.
type A personality where it's worked for her. I'm more like a hummingbird. I like to cross pollinate. I'm very curious about this, that, and everything in between. And it's funny where I'm like, well, I think, college isn't necessary and, this much money being spent in. She's like, well, how much money have you spent going to all these different workshops and seminars and courses? And I'm
Mhm.
sitting there like, yeah, definitely tens of thousands of dollars. Like I've definitely invested in additional
Yeah.
resources, but I'm happy to do that because it's my choice. And I feel like there's been a lot that I've been able to accomplish in a very non traditional, non linear path because of it.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree
so
more.
starting your business, since you took that leap,
Mhm.
how has that been financially for you? Has it been a struggle like while you were in college? You had to be making money when you were saying, all right, I've got a proof of concept now. I'm going to run with it. And are you doing it solo? Do you have a team? Tell me a little bit about the ins and outs of
Yeah, so it's a funny story. I beat myself up all the time, and the reason why I'm so passionate on the coaching side is because it took me so long to start. So I have wanted to start some type of business for about 2 to 3 years, and my dad, he's a CEO of a tech company. Very, very smart individual. And my idea was I just need him to teach me. And I waited for that opportunity, but as much as I love my dad, he can't sit there with me 24 hours a day for like a month straight teaching me how to do this. Like, I got to take some self control. I got to like lead myself. And the funny thing is, that's not what happened. In November of 2024, I got a call and it was from the Elliott Group. I was literally just doom scrolling on Instagram, and one of their guys on their virtual team, Justin Shoemaker, called me after I clicked off their free book ad. Called me up. We were talking, and I remember looking at my dad and I was like, this guy is selling me to buy a course and I like it. Like, I actually like being sold. Like, it sounds like he actually cares about me. This is a course that I'm a very frugal person. I don't like spending money. I spent consistently until now $300 a month on this platform that I use pretty much every day. At the time, that was a lot of money to me. And I used that a lot for building my business and getting my skills up. But I didn't actually take action to start mine in the beginning. I had someone believe in me, and I found that mentor. I had weekly calls with him. We got the proof out, and within 2 months, I had everything laid out, and I just needed to wait for the snow to come off the ground to get started, and moved along really quickly because I learned from someone who has, like, multi-million dollar business. So it moved quickly. In terms of like the proof of concept of where that came from, I have a friend who did landscaping, and I was like, I need to start something. Like, I've tried some stuff and failed, like, where should I go? And we talked about pressure washing because it was something that he had done, but he just hated, and there was some demand for it. And I literally just jumped on it. And I happened to end up liking it. Like everyone else, you should probably filter through a couple of things, but I was just like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. And that's how we went into the summer. I did a couple jobs in the school year. It was still a little bit cold, but we still got stuff. But I mean, leaving college going into the summer, I had made no money. I had probably had invested about like $1,000 into the company at that point, and just equipment and some marketing, like basic website and that. But it ramped up pretty quickly. But yeah, that's where it all started.
So it was a pretty small barrier to entry, as
Hmm.
far as getting the equipment lined up, and you were just hustling essentially, just getting it started, trying to make sure that you had a foundation set up with sales, with understanding how to actually build out a business. And then the most important part that I think so many people get so caught up because of paralysis by analysis, you actually
Hmm.
took action and tried to start seeing results once you were able to. So, how did that role of sales play in those early days? Were you feeling pretty confident with what you were learning? Were you getting good practice with actually meeting with clients? How were you doing it? Were you doing cold calling? Were you knocking on doors? Like, how was that
Hmm.
initial start? Because that's again like the experience comes in the action that you're taking.
Yep. So totally agree. This is a big thing that I preach because this is what was taught to me by my mentor. And I'm confident if I started all over again, I could make over $10,000 my first month just based off of this. And that is, I did my first 15 jobs for free. And so basically, I went into Facebook groups and I said, literally, hey guys, I'm a college kid who wants to start a business. I don't really have any experience. Like, kind of really just listing all the stuff that was wrong with me, which looking back on, not the best idea, but I was being truthful. I was being honest. And I was like,
You were shaking the can.
I
Please, sir,
was
some
yes,
change.
sir. So, and I just said, look, I'm looking to do 15 houses for free. And I started in Windows before I went to pressure washing. So 15 houses for free. In return, I want 2 referrals. I would like a review on Facebook, and let me know if anything that you didn't like or anything that you liked. We also talked a little bit about pricing on these. So it was a lot of just information on the other end. And within, those 15 jobs, I already had paying clients from the first two because those referrals just lined up the next week. And in the early summer, a lot of people just want to get it in fast because some people want to do their windows at the end. But within a month, I already had paying clients from my 15 free jobs that I use as referrals. And now, another rule that I live by is you have to ask every single client for a referral because it is just like a spider web. And truthfully, you should never run out of business if you keep asking for this stuff. So there should never be a pressure on customers. I've definitely had days where I've been only booked out a couple days because that's just what happens. But you should always be asking those questions to try and get more clients. But yeah, we started out free, and that was the idea. And when my coach told me that, I blindly believed it. I didn't even question it. Once I told my friends, they were like, "This guy's an idiot. What are you talking about? You're gonna do this for free? Like, you're doing like across 15 jobs? I mean, it's like $8,000 of jobs I did for free." And when I was thinking about that, I was like, I'm gonna trust him because I naturally knew that this guy had the life that I wanted, and I'm talking to a bunch of broke college kids who knew nothing. And we ended up running the play, and the play was right. It worked really well. Within the first 2 weeks, I made $8,000. And then in the first month, I made a little over 12.
That's awesome, man. And there you hit some very important parts on that versus the rule of reciprocity. You know, you got to give to get. And I
Mhm.
think that's so important, especially like you said, when you're starting off a business. You did it smart. You know, you were able to ask for the important things like referrals, and everybody knows that the money is in the follow-ups, the money's in the referrals.
Yep.
It's so easy to slide in when you have word of mouth or somebody who's already had a positive interaction with you. It's so easy to use that relationship to foster something new. So, such a
Mhm.
smart route to say, I'll do it for free. I just need these. Like, if we're going to do a contract, I just need you to tell me what I'm doing great, what I can improve on, and who else could benefit from my service. You know,
Mhm.
like the
Yep.
greatest compliment you can give me is by letting me help one of your friends. So, who's it going to be?
Yeah, that's the play. That is the play. And
And
I
that,
did I had a lot of people wanna tip me, and there were definitely some jobs that I took the tip, but I if they hadn't already given me the referral, I was like, "I appreciate it so much, but truthfully, the thing that's gonna help me the most is if you give me a referral." And really pushing that. I still have that today with, like, reviews with people who are like, "Oh, I'll just spread word of mouth." I'm like, "I love you for that. Thank you so much, like, from the bottom of my heart, but I need these reviews because this is what people see online, and if you want people to have the same experience that we had, it really helps to have some reviews online." So that's more of what I'm pushing now with that narrative. But yeah, I totally agree. The law of reciprocity. We have to give. It really is what it is. We have to give. You can't just expect to take and take and take and just make it happen. Like that's just not how it works, especially when you're starting out.
yeah, yeah. And then also just how you're refining your approach and now just being a little bit firmer, it sounds like, on saying, I need something actually, like I need the testimonial on my website, on Google, because at the end of the day, documentation is going to beat conversation. I've
Yep.
had, I mean, every salesman knows that the last thing you wanna hear is like, "I need to think about it," or like, "I'll get back to you," because it's like, "Okay, I'm never gonna hear from this
Yep.
person ever again." You know, let's put our
Yep.
decision caps on today so that we're asking smart questions so that we can come to a decision at the end of this call. It's one thing if you don't want it, it's one thing if you do want it, but let's not be in this position of, "I'm not sure," or, "I need to think about it," or, "I'll get back to you," because all that's doing is gonna prolong your suffering. You know, we're here to
Mhm.
make some change. You're either gonna cut off the life that you're living right now, or you're gonna cut off, you know, the fantasy of what it could be. One other thing I wanna loop back to, you actually taking advice from someone who's in the position. I think that's something we hear a lot, but a lot of people are not willing to accept is do not take advice from people that are not in the place that you wanna be.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better.
And I've
Yep.
been in the mindset before. I'm like, well, you know, if the advice is good, the advice is good. You know, maybe they're not taking it. Because I've seen, and I used to watch documentaries on
Mhm.
bodybuilding and CrossFit, and I was just so blown away that a lot of these coaches, older, out of shape. I'm like, man, like you've been doing this your whole life. You understand physical science and nutrition, and you're coaching
Mhm.
these world like elite athletes, and you yourself are not in that position at all. Like you look unhealthy and unstable. So, you know, maybe the knowledge
Yeah.
does come from a good place. You're just not taking it. And of course, reality hits you saying, like, no, I want to listen to somebody who's crushing it, who's making really good money, who's
Yeah.
got a raising relationship, who's got an amazing, like, you know, physique. I mean,
Mhm.
that's actually taking care of their body. Cause if you're living in a happy state, you're going to want to make sure that you're being optimal in every way possible.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. It really comes down to you should not take advice from people you wouldn't trade lives with. And a way to test that is if I'm talking to you and if I say, "Oh, you remind me of that person." Do you feel offended when they say that? Because I've had
Whoa.
people tell me, "Oh, you remind me of John, you remind me of Ben." And I kind of look at them and I'm just like, "Hmm." Like, yeah, they're my friend, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't like that because it really that's not where I want to be. If someone said, "Oh, you remind me of Andy Elliott," I would be like, that is an amazing compliment. Like, that's great, but it really is just don't listen to people you don't wanna trade lives with. Like, if you wanna go somewhere, you're naturally gonna get brought into this book we read, Outwitting the Devil, talks about the law of harmony,
Mm,
which is basically the law of whatever you wanna be, you're naturally gonna get pulled to. So if you wanna be super successful and be wealthy, family life, whatever it may be, and you're searching constantly to do that, you're naturally going to get pulled to find those other people. Versus if you don't, you're not thinking about that, you're just gonna be with everyone else, and those people keep you down. They naturally are gonna pull on each other to make sure that you don't get brought the other way, and you need to be very in particular and sharp and direct about what you want in life, because if you don't, your mind's gonna get taken over, and before you know it, you're gonna be 45 and have nothing to say you've achieved.
Mm, mm. Dude, just dropped some heat on us. Just
Yeah.
absolutely dropping some scorched earth here, man. So let me ask you about the hustle because I
Mhm,
love Napoleon Hill and his books, Outwitting the Devil, Think and Grow Rich, of course, being probably like the number one selling book in the world or
mhm,
one of. I'll have to do a Google check later just because I know it's always changing. But
mhm.
a lot of it talks about alignment and what you want is also seeking you. There's
Yep.
an old saying for that. And finding something that naturally you're like, "This is it. This is for me." Like, you're hustling, but it doesn't feel like hustling. And
Yeah.
you're now in this state where
Yep.
you're getting to live life on your terms, you're getting to be your own boss, you're getting to lead a team.
Mhm,
For people who don't understand hustle in general or what it is to hustle, when you're doing it for yourself, what's a day in the life look like for you now
mhm.
in your business and what it is like scaling it? Because
Yeah.
you've been doing this now for a little bit.
Yeah. I like to dive into this. I like to say something Alex Hormozy says. He's one of my big mentors. And it's talking about how the people that you're chasing do substantially more than you expect. Like, you might have an idea of how much I work, and I can promise you it's a lot more than that. And you might have an idea of how much, the Andy Elliott's, the Alex Hormozys, the Dan Martells work. And I can promise you it's substantially more than I do, especially with their team. And it really is how he talks about you need to work until it's unreasonable for you to be successful. And the daily life for me now has changed a lot, especially since I just moved into Burlington. I moved out of my home with my parents. I have my own place now with a roommate. But my average day, I'm waking up at 5. I'm getting to the gym around 5:20 and I'm out by 6:30. All of my equipment for my company is in a storage unit. So I have my breakfast, I commute there, and I get to my job by 8 a.m. From 8 to 4 is specifically job time or outreach time. I usually, at the moment, am finishing jobs around 2, and then that last 2 hours I do specifically for more outreach, emails, talking to past customers, and then from 4:30 usually have a bit of lunch or usually I'm coming home. I go to my dad's office, where he's at, and I film the rest of the day. So from 4 to about 6 when he leaves, I do filming for social media, for Burlington Pressure Washing, my websites, all of that. And then when I come home from 6 to about 10:30, I am studying sales, flashcards, whatever, reading my books, taking notes on that. Currently, I'm in the middle of $100 million offers by Alex Hormozy. And there's always a little bit of free time. Like I do give myself a little bit of a break. I'm not just a workaholic, but I probably give myself about 30 minutes before I go to bed. And then whatever time is left goes specifically into the coaching business now, which is usually about 2 hours. And that's, website at the time, course building. So now it's going to shift a little bit onto the community aspect and maybe outreach for the coaching side. But
Mhm.
I really am running basically 5 to about 9 specifically on business stuff every single day. And I love it. And a way to like phrase it for people, because I've talked to my friends and like, dude, you're an animal. Like, you work so hard. And yeah, I do work really hard. But it comes all back to the story of when I was first starting out and doing my pricing. I started working for this guy who'd been doing Windows for about 10 years because I'd realized that my service had basically maxed out what I could charge for them still getting value over their price. And I wanted to raise my price. So I basically interned with this guy. And I was like, look, if you ever need someone, call me up. I'll help you out with the job. And I did about 4 jobs with him, learned everything that he knew on like his process. And it was amazing. Like, my whole system changed because of it. And the reason why is because I want to charge more for my windows, but you can never charge more than the value you're given. Otherwise, your clients are going to be unhappy. And
Mm,
so right now I was here, and if I raised my price would be on par with everyone else in my company, but their value's up here. So there was no chance I was going to win. So I worked with these guys. My value went up. And now I'm on par in terms of the service, but my personality is super authentic with all of these clients that I pretty much dominate in my space. And that comes back to pretty much all of it in my work life. You got to think creatively. But on that trip when I was with them, they asked me, "Do you ever wake up and like you don't want to go to work?" And I never thought about it. And I was like, "No, I don't." Like I truly love what I do. And that is a blessing because I know there's a lot of people that don't. And it makes it a lot easier to work. There definitely are days where I don't want to work. I definitely wake up and I'm just like, I don't want to go to the gym. And you have to remove your emotions from what has to get done. That's really what it is. And that's pretty consistently what the day looks like right now. I'm a structured person. There are some days I get done by 12. I'm at the office for the rest of the day. There are some days where I don't have jobs and I'm at the office for the whole day doing quotes and stuff. There are days when that happens, but it's a very consistent. I am on my feet from 5 to 9, 9:30, and then unwinding by reading. I'm reading Name of the Wind right now. It's a great book. That's what I'm reading right now for like personal. But sometimes I'll see friends if it's weekends, but I try to stay close to my bubble because I know if I go out and stuff, it can really mess with my time. So that's what it looks like right now.
Awesome, man. It's so funny because you hit on really the importance of alignment and being embodied and who you feel like you should be. And I think that's such a very big anchor to have in your life on
Hmm.
the direction that you're choosing to go into. And the meaning that you want to attach to the actions and what you want to provide to the world. If you're sitting here saying, I want to be in business for myself because I want to make a lot of money, or, I want
Hmm.
to provide the best service possible, or, I just want to have that freedom to be my own boss. Um, Compared to, just another person that might just sit there saying, I don't want to have that much responsibility. I want to be an employee. I want to have like that sense of safety in it too. It's the vehicle that you want to put yourself in and how you want to move through life. One way is not better than another. It really just comes
Yep.
down to what feels the best to you. And a lot of people struggle to get there. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't understand the choices that they make, why they make them. And, they struggle. They move through life always wondering, why does life happen to me? Life doesn't happen to you. Life gets to happen for you. It's just a matter of the decisions that you want to take. And the quality of your life is going to be directly related to the quality of your leadership. And it starts with you. So, what's the biggest misconception that people might have about starting a service business? Since you've done it, you've taken that leap, you're now providing for the community.
Hmm.
What do people get right about it? What do people get wrong about it from the outside looking in?
People get right. That's pretty labor intensive. Didn't have if I was not an athletic person going into this, it would be very hard for me to do a lot of the things I do, especially starting out solo. So it is labor intensive. I wouldn't have expected the pressure washing side to be, but you move a lot of heavy equipment. You're on ladders all day, and believe it or not, being on ladders all day is tiring. So that is definitely something that people get right. In terms of what people don't get right, and I definitely messed this up in the beginning, is the services are all businesses are people business, but especially services. Because you're quoting, you're working in someone's home, and they're constantly monitoring you unless they trust you enough to be there alone. So it really comes down to you have to really train on how to interact with people and understand how they're thinking. That's why sales in my industry is so important because it really comes down to learning how to help and serve and get them the outcome that they need rather than trying to convince them. Because if they're coming to you already, they have a problem, all you need to do is solve. If you're trying to convince someone, it's a lot you shouldn't be doing that. You can only sell to people who have that problem. If you're selling to someone who doesn't have a problem, you're wasting your time or you're doing a disservice to them. So it really comes down to understanding how you can help people, understanding your product better than everyone so you know how you can help rather than being like, my product is like an average of 550 per job. I'm going to go knock on this lady's door. That's the number I'm going to sell her. Like, that's just not how it works. Yeah, we have a job minimum, but if that lady's like, oh, my siding's been, torn up for 4 years on the back, there's not a price already circling in my head. I'm looking at that, I'm like, 4 years, has she worked with anyone before? Has anyone, like, screwed her over in this? Why hasn't she gotten this done? How can I help her? What's gonna be timely? And you have to think about the client before yourself. You have to care more about them than yourself, and you're naturally gonna get taken care of too if you do that.
Mm. I love it, man. I actually had a conversation earlier this week with Daniel Willis, who's the founder of United Leadership, and it's same
Ooh, yeah.
sales training, leadership training, and he said the same thing about sales. He's like, "Steph, the number one thing that people get wrong with selling is that they think it's all about the presentation and the demo and making it like you're going to a rock concert with,
Yep.
with fog machine and lights, and you're just like, cool, here's this product. It's so amazing. Buy, buy, buy."
Yep.
There is a there is a small fraction of people, like, I will admit that I'm that person that falls in that group because I love being sold as well. I love going on the journey. I love having a good time and spending the
Mhm,
money.
mhm.
But majority of people get wrong about not asking questions. They don't lead with curiosity. They're not sitting there being flexible and actually wanting to develop a relationship. And I think it's so important what you said about having trust with somebody,
Mhm.
especially when you're in their home. It would make sense they're gonna follow you around and make sure you're not destroying their property, that you're not
Yeah, of
trying to steal anything or screw them
course.
over, because that's the number one thing people worry about. Am I getting what I'm paying for?
Yep.
And having to convey that when you're knocking on somebody's door and in their domain, that's a very intimate space to be a part of. So yeah, you have to be very quick. You have to be very authentic. And in a way, you also have to be vulnerable. Like, no, I'm going to take really good care of you. I promise. Like, and that's where you get those referrals and those testimonials, just so that you have that proof of character, to kind of help them like lower that barrier and actually trust you and say, yeah, I'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, you're right.
now you've started transitioning over, you're starting over a second business as well,
Mhm,
already on the market, trying to get multiple streams of income in here. Let
mhm,
me ask you about the coaching itself, because you're already running a business. It's already taken
mhm.
up a lot of your time.
Yep.
You're very structured with how you handle your schedule. But
Mhm.
what makes you want to go ahead and start teaching others? And then what specifically is your coaching about? Is it about business, mindset, leadership? Where are we at?
Yeah. So the reason it all started is because the moment so you can build up a whole business, but the moment that someone pays you money for you to help them, that's the moment when you prove to yourself that you can actually do this. And I will remember the moment where I told someone I was going to invoice them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, totally." And then it hit my account, and I was like, "Wow, this is real." But the reason I wanted the coaching is basically the way that it happened to me and proving to myself that I can do this. It changed my life. Like, I was really, really stuck. I was a really big liar about everything that I was doing in my life. The 2 years prior to this in high school, especially junior through senior year, lied about grades, lied about colleges I got into, anything that you could think of, even if it wasn't a reason. I just became a really big liar because I was so insecure in myself. And having that switch to owning a business, because that was really what I lied about, was having this lifestyle that I didn't have, which was, yeah, I own something like this, or yeah, I'm making this much money a day doing trading or something, like just making stuff up because I was so insecure and that was easier to me than actually taking action. And obviously it got to a point where that pain of staying the same finally was lower than the pain of change. And I changed and I got that business. And as soon as I did that and I saw the path that I went on, I was like, I need to coach other people on this. If I can help people feel that feeling that I felt and get them to change their life the same way, I can't imagine anything more rewarding than that. And that's more of why it is. It's more of I'm basically talking and teaching and selling to myself about 2 years ago. I'm looking for those people that think the same way. I'm not looking to coach everyone. We coach specifically on starting, not building, but starting exterior cleaning services, pressure washing, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, driveway sealing, anything exterior to a home. That is what I specifically coach. And along that path, to become a business owner, you have to be strong in mind. You're going to get rejected. You're going to be terrified. You just can't quit. And so there is a lot of foundational work with the mindset. So the coaching is specifically on how to start those types of businesses, but there is a big mindset play in this and understanding that your actions outside of your lifestyle will directly impact your business. And so it's more of indirect coaching in that way, but we do specifically coach on starting to getting you right now to six figures.
Awesome, man. And I love that
Mhm.
it's very niche down to doing exterior services, because that's a market that I think is going to continue to grow. Starting to see this big shift with AI coming into place. And it's for the last several years, we've heard computer science, coding, coding,
Yep, yep,
coding.
yep.
And it's like, all right, so how much is that going to shrink over the next few years? But you got to think about jobs that physically require a human
Mhm.
that can't be replaced. I remember years ago, a friend of mine was talking about, I want to go and be an appraiser and deal with property.
Mhm.
And his older brother, we were all eating dinner, and he was like, "That's the stupidest thing ever. Eventually people are going to have drones fly around. They're going to be able to scan it and be able to quote things automatically with the technology. You should go be a home inspector because you're going to have to
Mhm.
crawl through spaces. You're going to have to grab stuff and shake it. And that's something that
Mhm.
just can't be replaced at this time, if at all, ever by a
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think it's awesome that you've got something that's niche down. And as far as starting a business like this, I think that anyone is capable of starting a business if they've got the passion, they've got the drive, they got the
Mhm.
hustle for it. But I know a lot of people want to argue and say that it requires a certain personality. And I don't know if that's
Yeah.
just a limiting belief or if that's something that can be developed and nurtured as a skill. So I want to know where you're at with that and how you think the coaching that you want to establish
Mhm.
can help sharpen those skills for someone who might be existing in that personality already, or someone who wants to take that gamble and see if they do have what it takes to make it.
Yeah. I can't agree more that anyone can do this. The difference between a normal person and an entrepreneur is just the comfortability with taking risks. And a lot of people, you see these millionaires, these billionaires, and obviously I'm not on that level yet, but I am an entrepreneur. And some people are just like, it's not built, it's not made for everyone. Not everyone can do this. What I believe they're actually saying is mentally, people can't handle it. And so a lot of it is, yes, if you and me were talking right now and I said start a business right now, yeah, you might not be ready to do that. But if you worked on your mindset and you really found out your why and you had that drive, so you knew that pain point in the back of your mind, so that every time you took that step back, you kept going, I do believe anyone could do it then. I think that yes, if we put everyone into starting a business right now, a lot of people would fail, a lot of people couldn't do it. But I do believe anyone can train their mind. I do believe anyone can change, especially their lifestyle and their habits and who they are to their family and friends. And that alone, building that mindset, if you know why you do something rather than just being chasing money, because there will always be an easier way to get money. So if you change that in your foundation, I do believe that anyone can do it. I just think that that's so overlooked that people go straight into the business. How do I start? Where's the money at?
Mm,
There's no way you're going to make it because a lot of these other people have driving factors. No one wants to work, 16 hours, 18 hours a day if all they're thinking about is money. There are going to be those little 5 minute, 10 minutes where you will shift back and you lose all of your momentum because you don't have a why. There's nothing pushing you. And that's more of what I believe is you just need to have that mental side made and you need to know why you're doing it rather than it just being for money and something that you're just trying.
mm. I love it, man. Jordan Peterson, I heard him on a podcast years ago say that your life isn't getting to sit on the beach and drink cocktails all day.
Hmm.
That comes every now and then. I think the same can be said about entrepreneurship, especially when you're looking at wanting to collect a good paycheck and have a life of
Yeah.
freedom. And we've been in some pretty amazing spaces. We've met some pretty financially successful people and amazing
Oh, yeah.
leaders. We've seen the hustle, we've seen the hype. And what's one thing that, you wish that maybe more aspiring entrepreneurs knew before they actually get started or, or considering jumping into the world of entrepreneurship?
It's harder than you think, but all it takes is delusional belief. Anyone can do it. With social media right now, we see it all the time with people who think that, like, anything under $1 million is not successful. And, 20 years ago, it's like, what are you talking about? That is like the pinnacle of what people think about for wealth is making that $1 million per year. But now with social media, people are talking about these teenagers making it in a couple days. And there are people who do this. Yeah, there are people who made millions in like 3 months who are like my age. I'm not on that level yet, but there are people that do that. I think a lot of people get trapped in thinking like, oh, I can do it so fast. And yeah, there are some people that do, but for the majority, that's not the case. You have to work very hard to do it. And to do that, you have to have a delusional belief that whatever happens to you does not matter because you're not going to quit. You're I have done things absolutely terrified. I have paid money to people to learn things where my back is against the wall and I don't know if I can pay rent next month. That happens. But to say that like anyone can do it, yada yada, it's true. But understand that if you don't have the mindset where you are so, it feels so delusional that literally nothing can get in your way that you're going to get this done and you're not ready to put all of the work in, it's unreasonable to say that you're gonna make it, and there are people that fit outside of that box, but I believe for the majority, it is even harder than you think. but everyone truly can do it if they want to do it. Otherwise, everyone would do it. And so that's what I would say is not necessarily like, oh yeah, like all you need is this, all you need is this. It is really hard. It is really hard. But because it's hard doesn't mean that like everyone can't do it. Everyone can. You just have to build that foundation.
And it's really just the mindset is such an amazing thing. Like when you're
Mhm.
thinking about the subconscious mind and the programs that we operate from and the belief systems and the paradigm that we operate within. I was talking to a hypnotist earlier this week and we were talking about, in general, people that are wanting to attract more money and attract more abundance and maybe have these structures in place in their mind. I call them splinters. He calls it pruning the tree. You got to get rid of the
Mhm.
unnecessary branches, or it'll destroy your property. Said the same thing. He was like, how are you limiting how you view money? Are you allowing money to come? Do you have that abundance mindset and allowing money to come to you, or do you think that it comes with so much struggle? And I fell into the mindset like, I believe that, yeah, a lot of big money comes from a lot of struggle and you have to work hard.
Mhm.
And he was like, well, let me ask you this, what about, people on OnlyFans? Do you think they
Mhm.
have to work hard to make that much money? I'm like, well, maybe, maybe not. He's like, well, what about lottery winners? Do they have to work hard to make that kind of money? I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, so it's all about how you want to structure and shape that mindset
Mhm.
and see how these opportunities are going to come for you. And then based on that is going to elicit how you're going to take action to get those results.
Mhm.
So let's say that I'm starting from scratch. I
Yep.
have I have no money, I have no ideas, but I do know that cool, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to make some money.
Mhm.
So what would you consider the first move that I'd have to make to get started on this path?
If you have now truly decided and there's no wavering in you, then you don't need much. But obviously, there are days that this isn't going to work, that you're not going to want to do this. So the first thing that I would do is reflect on your why. The way that I did this is I made a vision board. It's actually the my screensaver on my phone, so I see it every day. It has my family, the cars, the houses, the vacations, and then it also has, giving my mom a gift, which represents me like paying for her house and taking care of my family. So you need to understand your why on why you're doing this. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to win. You're going to lose to people who do know it. Secondly, I would get a mentor. There is no reason to reinvent the wheel. There are people who have done what you're trying to do. Unless you are doing something so different than everyone else, even then, if you have a new idea, there are ways to go about that. There's no reason you shouldn't be paying for courses. There's no reason that you should be paying to talk in these inner circles of people who are worth more than you to get there. And for people to think that, oh, I just need to work hard, it's going to happen. That's not how it works. You need connections. You need to learn from people who have done it because you're just swerving in this road and you're going blind and there are a ton of potholes in it. And if you can't see them, you're going to get trapped pretty quickly. So I would say figure out your why, get a mentor, and if you can get some type of course for what you're doing with that mentor, maybe it's structured where you're seeing them weekly, because sometimes you're going to get off track, especially when you start. But I would take that first week to really dive into what do you want, restructure your habits so you feel like you're improving, even if that's 10 minutes a day. And that way the mindset is there because you need the mindset, you need that delusional confidence. And that comes from a multiple of things. I think the biggest thing is keeping your promise to yourself and being honest with yourself is where that delusional confidence comes from. If you feel like you're lying to yourself, then yeah, you're not going to make it. But I know I'm going to make it. Like I know I'm going to make X amount of money. I know I can do all this. And it's almost a delusional confidence because there's no proof that I should do this, but I truly believe I will. And so I would say definitely land the mindset, land your why, slowly start to improve your life, either mindset, working out, whatever, and then get that mentor. Once you have that, you're now good. And in the times where you need questions, you have someone who's done this a million times before who can help you. And that's what I would do.
I love that it always starts with the why, man. You have to have a why that makes you cry because you have to have something that's going to be the fuel in your vehicle. Imagine your body and your life is a car and you've got a GPS, you've got a car, you've got the fuel. The GPS is going to be what's going to take you where you want to go. That's the direction. The car is
Hmm.
your body, going to do the work. The fuel is your why itself. That's going to propel you forward. And you have to remember, why am I driving for this? Why does my soul need this?
Yeah.
A big example I like to use is that in 1963, President John F. Kennedy said, before the end of the decade, we will be on the moon. We're going to put a man on the moon and he'll walk on the moon. And at that point, That just seemed like such a delusional, out of this world concept because we hadn't even put a rocket in space yet.
Yeah.
And in less than a decade, he's saying that we're going to not only put a rocket in space, we're going to go to the moon, we're going to have people walk on the moon itself. And sure
Yep.
enough, in 1969, we made that happen. Now, of course, there are people that want to speculate that that's real or not, but we put a man on the moon. The whole
You
world,
put a man on the moon.
all these governments like agreed and said it was an amazing feat for us. So
Mhm.
yeah, we put a man on the moon, and it was that delusional belief in saying, you know, we have to do this. We have to bring America together. We have to like
Mhm.
unite, and we got to win this. Yeah, it's important to be able to focus on that why, because that's what's going to give you that fuel to move forward.
Mhm.
Another example is look at people that are always climbing Mount Everest. Why would you want to climb up Everest? Because people die on that mountain every single year. It's so
Mhm.
incredibly dangerous. And it's like,
Yeah.
I want to be to the top. I want to be a winner. I want to have that risk of danger. I want to, feel alive. Whatever the reason is, like, I mean, that's got to be some pretty solid rocket fuel to want to risk it all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're getting close on time, and I've absolutely loved this conversation, going back
Mhm.
and forth, hearing your story, where you're at, where you're wanting to go, what you're bringing to the world. I am curious, though, on what you hope that someone's going to feel or believe after hearing your story. Maybe it gives them that insight or perspective or belief in themselves to start taking action, man. So I'm curious
Yeah.
on where you're at.
I mean, for anyone watching, understand I didn't just drop out of school. I was basically going to fail out. I had a 1.8 my first semester. I left school with a 2.7. I was a liar. I hated myself. Landed in the hospital for suicidal ideation. There was a lot of stuff that really went wrong for my junior senior year, and I felt like I was at the bottom of the barrel. And I lucked out truly with finding someone who believed in me. But I can tell you right now, if you can just take a risk to bet on yourself, to go find that course, to go figure out what you really want to do in your life, because you only get one. There's no reason that you should not chase what you want. If that's working for someone and you believe in their mission, that's great. If it's starting your own business, that's great too, but there's no level of how far down you have to be where it's just not possible for you to do anything. And there are definitely people who have had worse stories than me. I understand that. I've actually had a very good childhood, very good life, and I think it would be a disservice to not honor that by being extremely successful. But I've also had my low moments, and it really is that like anyone can do this. Like, I'm fine with anyone who sees this, just DM me. Like, I'll hop on a call with you free of charge. Like, it really is just once you figure out your why, it really is just about changing as many people, changing as many lives as you can. And some people won't understand that. And the reason you don't understand is it hasn't happened to you yet. You haven't figured out, quote by Mark Twain, there's the day that you were born and the day you realized you were born. Once you have that second day, you will go out of your way to help people find that second day for them. And that's really what it's about. It's just helping as many people as possible.
Your pains do become your passions ultimately. And I think that they're such a great indicator of the things that God puts in our life to make us holy and be in service
Mhm.
of other people. And I think it's such an important reminder that even if you've hit rock bottom or on your way to rock bottom or have had several rock bottoms, that
Mhm.
you can still be used in this world if you're willing to take the action and have the grit essentially to pursue it. And
Yep.
it's amazing if you've got a great life. I remember we were at an event and Chad Doetzel came up. He's phenomenal, phenomenal, like sales trainer and leader, has like a resort in Mexico. And we had all these phenomenal speakers coming up, and you just are blown away with their testimonies of
Mhm.
how much they've jacked up their lives and wanted to come back stronger. Then he gets up there and he was like, "Oh, I've had, a very amazing childhood. I, had a loving parents, I went to college. I don't have like a crazy story. I just, followed a pretty solid path."
Yeah,
And
it was amazing. I remember that, yeah.
it's funny because like everyone's journey is going to be unique, everyone's journey is going to be different, and so it doesn't matter if you're struggling or if you're having it pretty decent time. It's what do
Yeah.
you want to do and how do you want to accomplish and what do you want to accomplish in this life? So, with that being said, I want to know if people are moved by you, if people are more curious, if people want to
Mhm.
elicit your services for either coaching or pressure washing, how can
Yeah.
they find you, man? How can they locate you and where are you at?
Yeah, so my YouTube will be attached to this, and my Instagram will also be attached to this. If you're interested in learning how to start a six-figure service business and the exterior cleaning business, go to my Instagram. And even if you're not and you just wanna ask me some questions, I will answer you free of charge. Just go to Instagram and DM me, that's where I'm on the most.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. I always like to ask one last second question.
Yeah.
What's the mission that keeps you going? When the money's not going to be there, the numbers aren't going to be there, like what are you wanting to do to help reshape the world?
There are I got 2 answers for that. So, in the moment, if there is a moment where I catch myself that I'm not doing what I should be doing, the way that I rephrase it is not necessarily going back to my goals, but understanding what could the other Vaughn be doing, comparing myself to that perfect person who is always working, who has that perfect life, and understanding that I wanna get as close to that as possible. So, in the hours where I'm just like, "I need to take a break," but I have no reason to be saying that other than just I'm tired, I naturally am thinking about how much farther along could I be if I did this? I don't think you should compare yourself to other people and be like, there are like people who are working their butts off, who are making millions. I wouldn't say that because that's a little bit more dangerous. But to compare yourself to yourself and say, I could have X amount of quotes scheduled by the end of the day if I do one more hour, if I do 15 more minutes, like even one more call could be another $2,000. You never know. And so that's what pushes me in the moment. In terms of long term, future family is a big thing that drives me. My kids, my future kids, taking care of my mom. My dad doesn't necessarily need money, but I want to get to a point where I can have enough financial freedom to hang out with him a lot more because I love him. I moved a lot around as a kid, so I would love to be around that as much. But it really is that financial fence and to be around my family, that money really isn't a problem to give them that lifestyle and take care of my mom. And those are the three things. And that once you realize that specifically, if I stop working, if you catch me if I went to a bar, I don't, but if I did, you caught me there, and you looked at me in the eyes, and you're like, this is more important than your mom. This is more important than your future kids. You being here instead of resting or working, like, that's what you're showing. Your actions show what you actually want. That's why people say actions speak louder than words, is because it shows what you actually are looking for in your life. And when you're that specific on your why, it becomes very easy for you to psych yourself back in. Because if you say it and then you're like, I don't care, you're just a liar. You don't have you that's not really your why because it should push you and it should make you frustrated when you hear that. So those are my 2 things that I think about.
Man, I love it, dude. I
Mhm.
absolutely love it, man. Well, Vaughn, hey, I definitely appreciate you one more time coming on, dude.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you too.
Yeah, man, I love your story. I love what you're doing. Like I said earlier, dude, it's an absolute inspiration to see someone at your age jumping in with, I don't want to say no fear, but just going for it, doing it in a
Oh
smart way,
yeah.
actually taking the smart route of getting mentors and actually implementing what they're teaching you and starting to stack those wins up, man. So I'm
Yes,
so
sir.
happy
Yes,
for you,
sir.
dude. And I'm just excited to see where life is going to be continuing to take us, man.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be pretty cool in a couple years to see where we're at. I'm excited. Very excited.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thank you again. And
Yeah, thank
I
you.
hope that you have yourself an amazing day.
Same to you, man. Okay. God bless.
All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.